Good many futurists, social scientists as well as visionary enlightenments have shared their view that the world is in the midst of a transformation. They point out a shift in global consciousness unparalleled in the history of mankind. Corporations, educators, bureaucrats, and all those who carry a heavy workload around the world are increasingly questioning the same paradigms of efficiency, goal achievement, control and analysis, hierarchy and authority for finding more human and wisdom-oriented strategies. And it's now being recognized that the mind management or the self-management is central to managerial qualities and responsibilities. Wisdom from the ancient sources can be of immense help in gaining the required clarity for experiencing the joy of management. A new manager, with the help of wisdom and meditation, can release blocked physical and emotional energy, allowing one to attain greater health, inner peace, and professional success. The problem is in the perception that spirituality is possible only through poverty. As such, though, spirituality has nothing to do either with poverty or affluence. It is a part of that hierarchy of needs, what Abraham Maslow calls the need for self-actualization. It is a reflection of the fact that even after having satisfied one's material and psychological needs, one still feels certain emptiness. A human is essentially an unfinished product, incomplete. Spirituality opens up avenues to bring a completion, a sort of closure to one's evolutionary growth. It is a journey that leads to actualizing one's hidden potential. More we become aware of our basic paradigms, our perceptions, our insights which sustain our worldview, the more we take responsibility for those paradigms, examine them, experiment with them for the larger individual and collective good. In human life, being affects our seeing. What we see shows what we are, and what we are affects what we do. Wisdom consists of life-sustaining principles of awareness. They are the laws we need to follow to exist, to live and to grow, materially and spiritually. They often gather dust. They often disappear. They need to be brought out of oblivion. One outstanding reality of our present-day world, however, is that all things are technologies, all information, all teachings are available, but we don't know exactly their right significance, their place in our overall system of life. In the midst of all that is available to us, there is also a total disorder, externally as well as internally. Of course, the external disorder is a reflection of our internal disorder, of our chaotic state of mind. Mind and world are two sides of the same coin. They are not separate. Obviously, there is a need to reinvent ourselves in order to be responsive to the massive changes occurring all around us. Never before has change been happening so fast. Never before have there been so many people on the earth, and never has the whole globe been so totally interconnected. Never have we had so much information and material wealth. Also, never have we had so many externally extremely complex problems: ecological destruction, economic instability, terrorism, AIDS, stress, etc. and so many challenges as well. The human society today is being subjected to too much change in too short a time. In fact, the changes are such that several of them happening in different areas of our endeavor and at the same time. As Alvin Toffler puts it so candidly, and I quote, "We are suffering from the disease of change." It is this challenge which requires us to search and anchor oneself, seek one's roots in the insights, teachings, pointers, and pathways we may collectively call as, quote, ancient wisdom, so that we may know and understand the true meaning of life and living. We are witnessing an ever-widening gap between material progress and spiritual wisdom, between technological power and universal well-being. This is the basic issue. One thing is clear, as the contemporary mystic Osho explains, and I quote, "Wisdom is not knowledge. Knowledge is borrowed. it can be gathered from a library. The heavier the load of knowledge, the more ignorant one becomes. Wisdom comes from the heart. It is the voice of the inner world." Unquote. The choice before us has never been as clear as it is today. Whether to give blindly and totally to the transient world of business and economy and industrial output, or to bring in a balance by valuing the eternal, experiencing the everlasting, the non-disposable, the non-returnable. So when we talk about ancient wisdom, the emphasis need not be necessarily on the word ancient. Ancient wisdom actually stands for truths that are universal, timeless. These truths may have been discovered or realized in the past, but they are always contemporary, because they are never old or new, or they are both old and new simultaneously. Again and again, these truths in various forms at various times in various shifts of emphasis are rediscovered and restated. For example, take the truth of love as a major operating principle in the world, especially at the human level. It is an enduring, a sustaining truth, and hence an eternal truth. Regardless of how much the world changes, the truth shall survive, because it provides the very cosmological, the very existential nexus. So regardless of the accelerating changes, whether the changing paradigms in science, in social systems, in the behavioral and attitudinal patterns, or whether it is truth that is all remains changeless, it defines our world and our life. As Osho points out, and I quote again, "If love becomes your style of life, it will change the quality, not the quantity. Logic works in the world of quantity, and love transforms the quality of your being. That is the only phenomenon which changes the quality of your being. Nothing else can do it. Love is a magic. Love is the ultimate alchemy, and it is only through love that man has attained to the ultimate heights and the ultimate depths together." End quote. So it is now apparent that management is not just going through and applying same ideas, same concepts. It no longer means merely finding old answers to new problems. Rather, now it means finding new answers for all problems. It is evident that quick fix mentality keeps us away from the overall reality, and we remain tied down more to the conventional approaches. It must be recognized that many of today's problems are outcome of yesterday's solutions. Also, many of today's solutions may become tomorrow's problems. Since we are required to show results fast, instantly, we apply the same old ideas and applications to find, quote, solutions. Our common fallacy is that we believe programs emerge from our external sources, but in fact, they are our creations. They are byproducts of our own thinking patterns and our actions. So, there is no one out there to blame for. As pointed out by Fred Kaufman and Peter Senge, and I quote, "Today's primary threats are all endogenous, the byproducts of our own actions. There is no enemy out there to blame. As Pogo says, it's us." So the very existential realities confronting us today are propelling us to seek alternative values such as cooperation versus cutthroat competition, quality of life and relationship, oneness of humanity, social justice, caring for each other, and above all, spiritualization of the individual and the society, free from orthodox, stifling, institutionalized religion. There is now a widespread recognition of a changing worldview. Hence, the present corporate world needs to acknowledge two significant realities: affirmation of inner wisdom, intuition, inner quality, and we need to be rational, scientific, and materially progressive, but we also need to learn and live spiritual values. Interconnectedness, becoming increasingly aware that we may compete, but we are all part of one whole, one unity, and therefore no one wins unless we all do. Beyond capitalism and socialism, the experts are suggesting a third way. It's a concept, a worldview of materialism which is replaced by a worldview of relationships. Materialism is based on the idea we are all parts, competing with each other for our selfish interests, while relationships envisage we are parts but connected, interrelated, cooperating with each other and living in this world as a whole. This is an organic view. According to quantum physics, there is some evidence for the view that the universe is one organic whole. We are not individuals separate from the rest of existence, but inseparable elements of the universe. And I quote Osho again, it's a must for humanity's survival today that I'm trying to create a great synthesis, the synthesis between Zorba the Greek and Gautam the Buddha, the synthesis between materialism and spiritualism. I'm trying to create a spiritual materialism. These two things have always remained separate, antagonistic to each other, and because of their antagonism, man has remained schizophrenic, because man is both body and soul. Although we may be parts, but we carry the wholeness within us. We live as one, as a whole in a world of wholeness. The separateness exists because of faulty perception. This is the message of the Isha Upanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. As the famous scientist Schrödinger observes, the sum total of consciousness is one. Hence, if indeed the purpose of spirituality is wholeness, healing, holistic, and if indeed we wish to heal nations, races, societies, we will have to disassociate certain age-old ideas from the traditional perceptions and values. And further, as Arthur Koestler says, somewhere in our evolutionary process, humans have developed a hardware fault. Somewhere, he says, our brains have become miswired. But the issue is even deeper. We have actually been suffering from a software problem. Our conditioning, a bug in our ways of thinking and acting, is a problem where the mind has gone haywire. So, I would like to quote here Jack Welch of General Electric. In his interview to the Harvard Business Review, he talks about the paradigm shift in these words. 10 years from now, we want magazines to write about GE as a place where people have the freedom to be creative, a place that brings out the best in everybody, an open, fair place where people have a sense that they do matter and where that sense of accomplishment is rewarded in both the pocketbook and the soul. And I quote, and end quote. What he is implying is the recognition of, how Peter Drucker puts it, the human factor. Often the importance of management is emphasized, but the manager is forgotten. Conventionally, management is seen and evaluated on the profit-making basis. However, according to a report given by Stanford Research Institute, the essence of tomorrow's economy will be an, and I quote, emphasis upon the inner as well as the material needs of individual and groups. So, the emerging manager or the managerial leadership will need to go through the paradigm shift. We can see it as an evolutionary phenomenon. The very significance of ancient wisdom for modern management can become clear by taking a look at what a paradigm is and what is a paradigm shift. The word paradigm comes from the Greek. It was originally a scientific term which is now being commonly used to mean a model, a theory, a perception, or a frame of reference. A paradigm is a conceptual framework that holds all the elements of our experience together and creates a coherent picture of reality. It's a worldview. Our worldview implies a way of knowing. It is our overall perception through which we see and interpret the world. So a paradigm implies a twofold meaning. First, a model of something, or for example the world, and secondly it means an invisible structure. For example, a system of values, thinking, perception, or insight through which we view the world. A paradigm shift brings about a 180-degree turn. It totally changes the way we see and do things. So essentially, paradigms are the life-sustaining principles. They are the laws, as the Vedas mention Rita. We need to follow the law to live, function, and grow. These principles, these laws often gather dust, often even disappear, and then at a certain time they are brought out from the oblivion by the sages, the visionaries, or the enlightened masters. In the Bhagavad Gita, for instance, Lord Krishna mentions his incarnation was for the purpose of reinstatement of dharma, the law of the basic paradigm. He is not talking about dharma in the sense of an institutional religion. He precisely means reinstatement of the paradigm that sustains, upholds and nourishes life. So we must recognize these laws, these paradigms and bring them into a harmonious relationship with us. We are at such a challenging moment that we must bring a paradigm shift, or else we may lose the very fabric of life, leading it into disintegration. Excuse me. The new manager will need to go through the paradigm shift. We can see it as an evolutionary process, a movement in the process of matter, and to bring about revolutionary change. I would like to make it short and bring to your attention what I would like to call enhancing the overall quality of management. Excuse me. I present a five-fold spiritual input. We may call it yoga of creative spirituality. Number one, observation. It is said, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. Hence, what is required is a keen, open, clear and unprejudiced eye for seeing things, realities as they are and not as they should be or as we expect them to be. This I would like to call Preksha Yoga, yoga of seeing reality. Second, imagination. Finding creative solutions with courage, keeping the options open, being flexible in order to experiment with a sense of searching. It implies looking for new answers rather than developing on the ready-made answers. I call it Srijan Yoga, yoga of creativity. Third, communication. Being non-ambiguous, straight, focused, receptive and sympathetic. Communicating effectively through transparency. I call it Vak Yoga, yoga of language and communication. Action. Not egocentric, but work-centric implementation of decisions, ideas and concepts with total energy given to work. It's a non-expecting commitment to work where the process, the journey itself is the goal. I see it as Karma Yoga or yoga of action. And finally, meditation. It implies attention without tension. It means being non-mechanical, being free from an approach based on a fixed pattern or patterns. It manifests awareness, free from conditioned ways of seeing and doing. Meditation makes the output, the work or the production as part of a non-serious, fun-loving effort rather than as a labor or a drudgery. It stands for Dhyan Yoga. While concluding, I'm again skipping all those things, but I would like to just share with you a very nice short story and then I'll end. There is a story. A disciple asked his master, what is it that keeps the world from falling through space? The master said, the earth stays afloat because it rests on a big turtle. The disciple asked, what holds that turtle up? The teacher says, it is held by another big turtle. The disciple continues, but that turtle too needs to be supported. Yes, said the master, it is turtle all the way. As for management, it is spirituality all the way. Thank you.